Greco. Greco is wrestling from the waist up. Now that doesn't mean you cut yourself off here, but it's wrestling from the waist up. And when your demonstrators here get to showing you some Greco moves, you'll see that. I'm going to treat you this morning like you know nothing about Greco moves for just a few minutes. I know some of you have wrestled Greco, some of you may not. It's pretty much upper body. Jake, one of you guys come on out here. Pretty much upper body. Yep. Which means that you can't grab or touch below. So a pummel move and hand fighting is huge in Greco. We try and keep our body going up here and try and gain advantage by just using hands and arms. It's often been described as a legal street fight when you get to the upper level. A lot of banging around going on in there. Okay? Trying to get to the body, get a lock on, so that some kind of an action can go. Do something. Okay? Now, when that happens, the legs become a large part of that positioning, but they cannot be used to gain advantage. One of the huge things in Greco is, the huge thing in Greco is, okay, Jake stops here, he's got his legs in there, and he's dragging this guy across him, but he's not actively using him. Now, on the other hand, if he was to step in front and use that leg to lift in some way, to throw that guy, then it becomes a leg fall. Offensive leg falls in Greco mean nothing. You just lose your position, you come back to your feet. Defensive leg falls in Greco cause penalties. So, for example, if he started to block below the waist or hook, now that's a defensive move that stops the offensive throw. Stops the offensive throw, so now it's going to become a caution and 2. All right? There's limited moves in Greco. So when you do and use defensive legs, it becomes a penalty situation. I'm on my back, he's pinning him. And he pushes off the legs on the bottom down here. He's blocking to keep the action. He may have scored 4 points on the takedown into his back, but if he's using the hands to defensively block the pin, I'm going to allow that to continue. If he comes out of that move, then I'm going to caution and 2 for the top man. So any type of defensive move where you're using the legs to block or using your hands to block below the waist is defensive wrestling, and it causes you to be penalized. The penalty is if you score, if Jake does a throw and the score happens and there was a defensive legs in there, it's going to be a caution and 1. If he stops the score, it's going to be a caution and 2. And in the situation where the pin was down there, since it was stopping the pin, it's always going to be a caution and 2 in a pin situation. Okay? Very simple part of the rules. Now, we're going to talk about out of bounds for just a little bit. Most of you just got done wrestling high school wrestling, collegiate style, folk style wrestling. In freestyle and Greco wrestling, I'm going to treat this as the out of bounds, although it's over there, but I'm going to treat this as the out of bounds. The out of bounds line is a clip. You have to stay away from it. FILA rules, international rules, do not like people going out of bounds for any reason. And if you go out of bounds on your feet, somebody's going to get penalized. Truly the way it should be in wrestling. But folk style hasn't come to that realization yet. Okay? So if Jake and Hayden are battling around up here, and Hayden happens to run Jake out of bounds, that's a point for Hayden. Okay? Doesn't make any difference why he went out of bounds, how he got pushed out of bounds, what took him out of bounds. I'm talking on the feet. It's a point for the guy who did not step out of bounds first. There are no simultaneous stepping out of bounds. I'm going to decide which one or the other is going to step out of bounds. If they're both stepping out at the same time, I'm going to choose one. I don't care. The penalty is, if you want to play them hit, somebody's going to get penalized. Is that fair? No, but I don't care. Get away from the edge. Simple as that. Think about that when you're wrestling. The referee does not care who gets penalized, but he's going to choose somebody who steps out of bounds. Okay? If you don't like that, stay in the middle, wrestle in this area here. Okay, now, load up the throw and step out of bounds. If Jake is out of bounds how he steps, he's got the throw loaded before he steps out of bounds, come back in. He steps, loads, and then steps out of bounds and finishes it. Since he finished that move and it started inbounds, there's no penalty. Okay? Any throw that starts inbound, steps out and finishes, we don't care, we got to score. So, stepping out, as long as you've got a throw and you continue and you finish it, if Jake didn't finish that move, then he'd be penalized. Okay? If we're in here, Jake puts a hand down, out of bounds, not considered out of bounds. It's called a step out rule. Most of us walk on our feet. None of us walk on our hands. There might be a few of you still there. Okay, as soon as Jake steps out of bounds with a foot, or puts his head down out of bounds, if Hayden doesn't finish the move, Jake will be penalized. If Hayden finishes and scores, that's no big deal. We got the score. We're truly interested in only getting the score and having a scoring action in Greco and in freestyle. If we're down on the magic, start the gun inbounds, and it finishes, go ahead and finish the gun out of bounds. Out of bounds over here. As long as it started inbounds, it may have all scored out of bounds again. We don't care. We got the score. If you watch college rules now, you can be pinned out of bounds. They've learned from freestyle. Just because the line is there doesn't mean you won't score. Questions on out of bounds, guys? Now, during the day today, when you wrestle, ask. Okay? I'm going to be around all day. And if you got questions and you get done wrestling and you wonder why it was scored that way, come and find out. Coaches, parents, same thing. Come and find out. I'm here as a resource for you. Okay, so that's kind of Greco rules. Very simple, short Greco rules. Now, Jake and Hayden and some of these guys that are doing your clinics will explain some other things as we go, but it won't make any sense if I explain them now. As you're working with it, it'll make a lot more sense. Some changes. If you wrestled freestyle Greco before, there's no longer a 5-point throw that ends the match. There's only two things that'll end the match. Three things that'll end the match. Time. You run out of time. And if you look at different rule books, the times are different. But right now, you can go schoolboy on up. It's going to be 3 2-minute periods. That's probably a change unless you wrestled some national competition last year. And under schoolboys, the 4 lower age groups are 2-minute periods. If you look in the field rule book, it says cadets and under are 2 minutes, but that's not the way it will happen in USA or Minnesota wrestling. So, the 2-3 moves or the 1-5 move will not end the match anymore. A pin will end the match, run out of time, or if you win by a tech fall. 10 points in freestyle, 8 points in Greco is a tech fall. Okay? A takedown can result from a defensive action. What that means is that if I attempt something, we always gave the benefit of the doubt to the offensive wrestler. If I do something defensively to gain advantage, there's a slight rule change there, the defensive man can score. Instantaneous fall. This will not happen in young age groups, But if he gut wrenches, it just rolls across his shoulder. Senior level competition, that will be 2 for him and 2 for him. In other words, he's going to have to march and get his hips up, and that's poor technique in upper level competition. Now, there's some juniors in here and cadets that go on to higher level competition. They'll probably call that what's called an instantaneous fall. You younger guys don't have to worry about it. You're going to score the 2 for the gut. Return to parterre if the defensive man does something wrong or causes a stoppage. Used to be we always came back to our feet. So if the defensive man does something illegal, if the defensive man crawls out of bounds, we're going to come back and start the parterre. Okay? We don't have the 5 count anymore. There's no count. There's no additional point for a hold down. Okay? That's gone away. There's no 3-point move anymore. It is now 4 in freestyle and 5 in Greco. So if I just do a simple hip toss like Jake did here before, taking him to his back, that's 4 Greco. Or 4 in freestyle, 5 in Greco. Okay? There is a 2-point takedown, but if anything involves a throw, you're going to get scored big time against you. Okay? The 3-point move went away. After 4 or 5. Still a 2-point takedown and a 1-point reversal, but it has to happen as like a takedown. Scramble situation, drag by, something like that. Anything that basically goes from feet to danger is going to be a 4 or a 5. Parterre, usual parterre. For some reason we end up in parterre. Now it's a false start. If there's one false start, I'll go attention. Okay? And if Jake false starts again, caution. 1. Okay? So hold it. And it's not like high school. Push, push, push. Oh, let's be nice and pull this guy to push. No. If this guy jumps, it's a caution. If he jumps again, it's a caution. Top guy comes out wrong, he bumps him or does something stupid, doesn't want to line up right. Attention. Come on up. You lost your position. Okay? On the first one. Come on up. We're done fooling around with that really barky stuff that people play with on that. Okay? We're done with that. So hold your position. And top man, they're not, if you do a rolling start, they're not going to accept that. You have to plant, and they're going to hold you there. Much like high school, where they say, top man on, and then usually the referee will say something, set, then the whistle. So it's very much like collegiate rules. Reverse body lock from the parterre position. You can't do that anymore. You can't do a reverse body lock from the parterre position. Okay? It has to be a start from behind. So Jake comes in, tries to do a reverse body lock. Attention. Come on up. Okay? Parterre starts for the top man. Bottom man, you have to be a tabletop. Straight up and down on the knees, straight up and down on the arms, and feet uncrossed. Jake has to start behind the knees and the hip. He can't step in front in any place. He can have both knees down, he can have one knee down, or he can be standing. Okay? That's a change, especially for you young guys. Used to be you have to have one knee or 2 knees down. You can be standing. It has to be behind the hips or the knees. So in other words, my feet have to be behind his knees. That line. Okay? Okay. Now, the 3-minute period, more than 2-minute period, it's been extended for a couple of reasons. One is it's allowing me as an official to set up the stall moves. We are obligated as officials, and I'm going to talk just 2 minutes today because it's probably what we're going to be wrestling a lot of. We are obligated as officials to call passivity if at 1 minute there is no score. We have to. At a big national level or international competition, we'll be downgraded. Okay? We get chastised, beat with a stick, sent home. Okay? If we don't call passivity. So if it's 0-0, coaches, I would suggest you, rather than get on the official, to get on your wrestler, because I'm going to choose somebody.
For the younger guys, what he's saying about passivity is a language you might understand is laziness.
Stalling.
Stalling, laziness. That's
Stalling. I'll show you a couple passivity things that we look for. But I'm obligated at 1 minute to call passivity. Okay? I'm going to choose somebody. Again, I don't care. All I want is scoring. All right? I'm going to choose somebody. I'm going to go attention. In freestyle, I'm going to stop the match. Jake is red. Attention warning. He always stalls anyway. Attention warning. Okay? If he continues that for the next 15 seconds, I'm going to say, I'm going to blow the whistle, 30-second shot clock. Jake has 30 seconds to score. If he doesn't, Hayden gets a point. Because I want to score. You guys don't want to decide it, I'm going to decide it for you. Okay, now Hayden, in that 30 seconds, starts to stall and become passive himself. Okay? Maybe he's fleeing the hole. I can stop that at any time and go, caution 1 for fleeing the hole. I've got to score. I don't care. If you guys can't wrestle aggressively, the rules have given me the power as an official to encourage you first, and then if you still refuse to take a chance, take a risk, and that's the key word in freestyle Greco, taking a risk. If you still refuse to do that, then I will penalize you. Okay? All right, so basic things we look for in passivity. Okay, Jake's in here, he's hanging onto a wrist, constantly hanging onto a wrist down here. Never let go of that wrist. I'm going to come in and take that off. So I'll say wrist, let go of that. He's doing it again. Wrist. And now we're going about a minute. Blow the whistle, attention, warning. That means he's been warned. For passivity. We're not going to say stalling. Attention, warning. Okay? Say, Hayden's backing out. He won't make contact, right? He's backing out. He's fleeing around. Blow the whistle. Attention, warning. Hayden's got his head buried in his chest. Jake's trying to fight in. Attention, warning. Hayden's got his butt to the edge of the mat out here. He's constantly playing out the edge. So if something happens, he can bail out. Okay? Attention, warning. Hayden, stiff arm him. Stiff arm him, like this. Attack. Well, they say attack, or action first. He refuses, attention, warning. If he continues it, somebody's going to get penalized with a 30-second shot clock. We call it a shot clock, like in basketball. What I'm saying is, if you refuse to wrestle, referees are going to get in here, they're going to talk to you a lot more than they do in book style. And if you refuse to take a risk, we'll call somebody for passivity. The worst thing a coach can do in that point is say, what's the other guy doing? What does that prove? What does that do for your wrestler? It does nothing for your wrestler coaches. It would be much better to say, you've got to get rid of that stiff arm. You've got to attack the wrist. You've got to get on a 2-on-1. You've got to look for an angle. You've got to get his head down. Coach your wrestler. Don't coach the official. Because if you're a officiator, you're coaching on my mat, and I hear that, you're going to leave the corner. You will not be allowed to sit in the corner if you're on my mat. It's simple. We've been instructed to encourage wrestling and to cause wrestling cause scoring. So if you're going to coach contrary to that, I don't want you in the corner either. Okay? So think about that, coaches, as you get into these tournaments. And those are the instructions I'm going to give my officials too. If you got a coach second guessing your call, get them out of the corner. They don't deserve to be there because they're coaching contrary to the sport of wrestling. We just had a big fight with people living wrestling. I did some things to help them. A lot of people did a lot more than I did. But I refuse to have lack of action take us to that point again in the sport of wrestling. So you're going to find out pretty hard on people that are what we call negative wrestlers and in the sport. Now online there's my rule book that I make for beginning coaches and beginning officials. If you go to the Minnesota USA webpage, Officials Corner, and you'll see a handsome picture of me. Right next to my name is all the rules. Download them. I keep them up to date. If a change comes, I put it in that rule. Okay? Now, passivity. Freestyle. Verbal warning, first one. Second one is you go on a penalty. 30-second shot clock. Any further penalties are probably going to be fleeing the hole. You won't go on the 30-second shot clock. You may in the second period, but if it's in the same period, it'll probably be a flea in the hole. Okay? And there will not be a penalty for fleeing the hole after the 30-second one. Now it has in my rule book, I put a little thing in there if I've got a young official that ends up at the end of the period and there's no score because of lack of experience, we're going to flip a coin. Somebody's going on the shotgun. If he chooses heads or if he's red and I have a red disc, he comes up red, he's on the shot clock. He has 30 seconds to score. It's sort of an overtime. That will not happen in state level competition. It'll probably only happen in kids competition, in these local opens. It's a way to help the referees. If I got a referee relying on that overtime period, I'm going to be in his ear. Okay? I'm going to tell him that that's not the way to decide this. You have to call the penalties so the wrestlers and the athletes can decide it during regulation time. There is no overtime in freestyle and wrestling. If somebody has scored, either by penalty or by regular points, they win the match. If there's ties, there's criteria for that. I will not go over that. That's in the book. That gets confusing. Greco's a little bit different. First one's a verbal warning. Second one, if I get A for a second passivity, I will give Jake choice of parterre or neutral. Okay? If I hit A again, I'll give Jake choice of parterre or neutral. But on the third one, he's also going to get a caution, and Jake's going to get one. Again, it's in the book. It's on that piece of paper that I just handed out, which is in my book. Fourth one, third caution, done. Match is recorded as a fall for Jake. Okay? You don't need to memorize that stuff. You just need to memorize and stay active. And you won't have any trouble with that. I haven't penalized anybody for passivity yet under the rules. Most of the time action happens. Guys, during the day today, I'm going to let these guys take it over. During the day today, if you've got questions at all, get to me. Okay? I'm going to go do a clinic for some officials over there. Les, you got one?
A lot of new kids here. When you're in the parterre position, they may be waiting for the whistle to blow. We want to say this contact actually starts to.
Yeah. In that situation, okay, you want to go down parterre? You don't line up, by the way, with whatever's out here. If the head table is over there, you always line up with your right side on the head table. And when you come out to the mat, doesn't make any difference what color you are. The referee will always have the blue on his right wrist and the red on his left wrist. Your red line up here, your blue line up there. Don't pay any attention to what's on the mat. But I want to say, set contact. I expect that guy to get on right away, and as soon as he hesitates, I'm going to blow the whistle. If you're fiddle farting around, adjusting your jocks and doing all kinds of weird things, combing your hair, attention. Okay? Come on up. I'm not going to wait for you to do that. That's contrary to active wrestling. Okay? You'll find that the rules are much clearer in those kinds of things than freestyle Greco in high school wrestling, which you just got done. Okay, gentlemen. Got some great finishes here. Listen to these guys. They're good. I'm going to fire you guys in one thing.